Hello everybody and welcome back to the final episode of the LT2 guide. Last episode I asked you to get prepared to build a house, and that's what I'm going to be teaching you today. First off, we're going to need to expand our land. For this I'm only going to expand my land by about 3 plots, but you can expand it by as much as you want. I recommend planning out your builds, and if they're big enough you may want to purchase all of the land first before you start building. But for today's demonstration, I'm just going to be building a little starter home that will fit in pretty nice. Now in terms of color palettes for your house, 3 tones is usually the best. You want a floor tone, a wall tone, and an accent tone. For this example, I'm going to be using elm as wall, oak as floor, and cherry as accent, just because they're all simple woods to get, but you can do a lot of other combinations like goldwood and pinewood and birch, like walnut and koa. There are tons of combinations for you to do, and I recommend, if you need some combination help, to go check out my base restoration season 2, as it will show you some good color palettes. Anyways, as you see, I'm just going to be processing up all of my wood. It's always good to have what you need before you start building, as getting it once you've already started is a pain and it will get you off your building track. Now, one thing I recommend for building big projects is to get the Super Game Pass. What this Super Blueprint Game Pass does is allow you to build everything with 1 stud of wood. Now, you can also do it by visiting the Strange Man, but that requires 10 million money in-game, and that's quite a bit for the starter player. So I recommend going around begging and trading players, using my trading guide in episode 2 to find out some good deals. Anyways, let's go grab some work lights, as it's always good to light up the area we're going to build in, especially since it makes the build look better, since you can make it look like daytime and you can make it fit nighttime by simply turning the lights off. I recommend 2 work lights per build. Again, if you're doing a big city build then you're going to want to light up your whole base, but I'm just doing a little build right here. Anyways, to start, you're going to grab your work lights, and you're not going to do what I did, because if you open them in your truck they might get stuck. So anyways, take your work lights, turn this little button on, and place them down. Now it's time to build your house. In terms of blueprints, it's always nice to have the floor blueprint. This large floor blueprint is pretty simple to build and requires a lot of wood, but it takes up a big amount of space, and the wood grain is all facing the same way. I'll get more about wood grain later on in the video. Anyways, another thing I recommend getting is a post, which you hopefully have already from the last episodes. If not, just go ahead and buy it. And also I recommend a corner blueprint, but we'll get that later when we need it. Anyways, to start off, close your door here and grab this large floor. Place them down in an orderly fashion. If you want your house to have a doorway of 1 door wide, then have 2 of these floors and then a smooth wall. If you want a double door, then you can just do like I'm doing. As you see, I'm placing them all in a nice 3x4 grid, as it's a pretty good starter base size. Anyways, these blueprints, like I said, require a lot of wood, especially when filling with oak wood, so you're going to need to get a lot of oak wood to build. Anyways, just for this demonstration, I'm only going to be building the front of my house, simply because I don't want to waste too much time gathering up all this wood just for a little house that I'll destroy later on. Anyways, grab up all of your wood and fill in all of your blueprints. As you see, I'm putting posts on the side of my build, but this is actually not the best way to do it. While you can't do it like this, I recommend doing the wall color on these posts. I'll explain more again at the end of the video. Anyways, you are probably going to need a lot of oak and other materials for this build. And like I said before, you're going to want to grab a lot of trees. I didn't grab that many oaks before I started building, but I should have grabbed a lot more. Again, these were the Super Blueprint Game Pass or the Powers, they're both the same thing, come in really handful. The Game Pass is quite expensive at about 700 Robux, but you could just trade for the money like I did in my trading versus buying, selling, I forgot what it was, video. Anyways, from there I took all of my oakwood bits and put them in. As you didn't know, oakwood bits here, I call them bits, are just tiny branches, fill up the walls pretty easily. Anyways, next up, let's go into Water Us and grab this corner blueprint that we talked about earlier. We want this smooth wall corner. Now, these usually aren't used too much in building, as you can recreate with just a skinny smooth wall and 2 posts, but we're going to be using them for today's build alongside with small floors to get the right height. Buy both of these up and add them to your inventory, and then go back over to your base. Once there, we're going to start by building these small floors in these cracks right there. From there, you're going to want to use your accent wood to fill these up. Like I said, my accent wood for this project is cherry, as it has a nice contrast between the oak and the elm wood being a little bit more pinkish. This piece of wood here in particular is pretty big, so I recommend cutting it up into some other tinier pieces. Again, you could just set your sawmill to a smaller size and it makes this a lot easier, but I forgot to do that, so I'll just cut it instead. Anyways, once filling up your small floors, it's time to get your corners. Go to walls and grab your corners right here. Place them down like so and fill them up with wood. These corners will have a 1 stud out dent from your walls. This will make it look a lot nicer in the end and will provide a cool little depth effect on your build. Depth is the main thing you want to be focused on for these tiny builds, as if you just make a box for a starter base, it looks very ugly. Anyways, now it's time for your walls. Again, I'm going to be using these floors, and I'm going to place 2 of them right here. Now, if you want windows, then you can follow the steps I'm going to do later, but for this, I'm just going to be using these normal posts. Anyways, as you see here, I'm deleting these posts because I built them out of the wrong material. I should have used the wall color elm. You can leave them with the floor cutter, but I don't really recommend it. Anyways, as you see here, you can always set your wood plank size to 1x2x1. This is a good size and you can cut it pretty easily into 1x1 units with your axe. Anyways, as you see, I filled up all of my posts down here, and if I ever get a piece of wood that has 99% and then I get another 99%, I just combine them together really quickly and really easily. Anyways, next up I continued walling. I don't like putting windows at all on my sides. For this demonstration, I am going to put windows on the front. Now, to make these windows, you're going to want to grab this skinny smooth wall right here, and you're going to come back to your base. Now you're going to place these walls sideways and place these short wall stubs like so. This will make little window holes. Anyways, let's talk about grain of wood. As you see, all the wood points in a certain direction on your build. This can be easily told with the floor. As you see these lines, that's the way your wood grain is going to go. So by using certain blueprints over other blueprints, or just rotating some blueprints to get the right angles, you can create some cool looking builds, as it will all look flush together because the grain is all flush. Having a building with not a lot of grain that's in the correct way looks kinda ugly from close up, but it looks fine from far away if you don't know too much or don't really care about your building that much. Anyways, once you fill in all your windows, it's time to go to fancy furnishings, as this is where you can buy your glass. Now, in terms of glass, I like buying small panes, as they work pretty good for the normal window size. You can buy the bigger large panes, but they do take up a lot of space and can look quite clunky on your build. I also recommend glass doors over normal doors. Anyways, you also want to buy a countertop blueprint, as we're going to be using this for a future kitchen, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use them to make a nice ceiling. Anyways, you're going to buy some glass doors, as they look much better compared to other wooden doors, as they bring a lot more vibrancy and life into your build. Like I said, you're going to buy these small glass panes, and then you're going to load it all in your truck and get out of here. If this tutorial isn't making too much sense to you, it's fine, as the whole point of Lumber Tycoon 2 is just a sandbox, and you can build whatever you like. I'm just showing you a pretty basic example of what my starter house would look like. Anyways, once home, you're going to place your windows in these cracks right here, and you're going to place these doors on top of the windows. Anyways, from there you're going to go grab your countertop blueprints and place them like so that they're 2 studs off from the corners. This will create more depth effect, which just makes your build look so much better. Now, note that countertops take a lot of wood to fill up, so making a whole roof of them at the start is not the best idea, so I just recommend building an exterior with them and then building better with some tiles to save you some wood. And now what I'm doing here is just fixing up all the wood grain so it all points in the same direction, and I'm going to grab some more elm wood to finish my build. You can see why this is kind of a pain and why you should collect it earlier. Anyways, I'm sorry if I sound a little stuttery and sick in this video. I'm kind of weird right now. Anyways, once you get back to your base, you can sawmill all of your wood and put it in. Take all of your wood and fill it up. Make sure you set your conveyor size to maximum when using elm wood, as it is a pretty big log. And just like that, you should have everything filled up and your starter house should be done. Well, at least the front of it. Anyways, like I said, this is the final episode of base restoration because there's really nothing else for me to talk to you about. We've built a basic sawmill setup, got you some pretty good axes, and got you a little bit of a building tutorial. Now it's all up to you. Lumber is a sandbox in which you can do basically whatever you would like. So I recommend building everything. You can build a city, you can build a town, you can build just a massive house. You can build anything you want, and that's what makes lumber so great. Anyways, that's it for Lumber Tycoon 2 guide. I hope you enjoyed. If you do need any more help, then you can simply go to some other YouTube tutorials.